Okay, so good morning and welcome to antennas and wave propagation class. So this is the fourth class, right? So today also we'll discuss about the antenna parameters. So before going to the today's actual class, let us have a revision on third class what we discussed in the Friday. So in the last class, so we have covered what are the various field regions or zones of an antenna, and what is meant by radian, and what is meant by steradian, and what is the coordinate system that we are going to use in the analysis of the antennas and wave propagation. And we also gone through the isotropic antenna and directional antenna, right? So let us have a brief look on this. So coming to the various fields or zones of the antenna. So if you take here, you can see if you take a dipole antenna, this one is the dipole antenna and its length is capital D. So when we give the input signal to this dipole antenna, so the input signal frequency is F and wavelength is the lambda. Then this dipole antenna radiates or produce or creates the electromagnetic waves. That means electric and magnetic fields. The region around this dipole antenna is divided into three zones or three regions. The region around this antenna is divided into three zones or three regions. Okay, the region from the antenna up to the distance of 0.62 under root dq by lambda distance is called reactive near field region. Is called reactive near field region. Why we are calling it as a reactive near field region means, in this particular region the electric and magnetic fields are reactive. That means the electric and magnetic fields that are produced by this dipole antenna are still associated with the antenna. That means they are radiated but they are not detached from the antenna. So that is the reason. So we will not take any sort of measurements in this reactive near field region. Okay, so after that, the region from this reactive near field region to 2d square by lambda distance, the region from reactive near field region boundary, this is the boundary of reactive near field region, up to the 2d square by lambda distance is called radiating near field region. Radiating near field region. So this radiating near field region is also called Fresnel region. So in this radiating near field region, the transition will takes place. The transition of fields. That means the radiated electric and magnetic fields detachment process will starts in this region. That's why we are calling it as a radiating near field region. So in radiating near field region, the transition of fields will takes place. That means the electric and magnetic fields detachment process will takes place in this region. So next region is the far field region. The region beyond the 2d square by lambda distance is called far field region. This far field region is also called Fraunhofer region. So in far field region, what happens, So in far field region, the electric and magnetic fields that are produced by this antenna are completely detached. That means they are completely away. They are completely, there is no connection between the produced fields and antenna in this region. So as in this region, as we move away from the antenna, the power or the electric and magnetic field strength will decreases. So because there is a complete detachment between the radiated fields and antenna, any measurement that is related to this antenna we take in far field region only. Okay. So if you want to measure any parameter that is related to the antenna, we will not measure in reactive near field region or radiating near field region. We measure only in far field region. That means the measurements will be taken beyond the distance of 2d square by lambda. Okay. So one important thing here you must remember is the radiating near field region. The radiating near field region is the in between the reactive near field region and far field region. This region will disappear in a case whenever the dimension of the antenna D is very much less than the wavelength of the input signal. So in such condition, this region is completely disappears. Then you will be having only two regions. One is the reactive near field region and another one is the far field region. That point you must remember. Okay, this is about the various field zones of the antenna. Okay, next we covered the radian and steradian. Radian means it is a plane angle basically. This radian we use dealing with while dealing with the two-dimensional things. While dealing with two-dimensional things. So for understanding of this radian, one radian, you take a circle of radius r. I'm taking a circle and this circle radius is r. Okay. So with length of r, make an arc on this circle. So this is the arc of length r. So this arc of length r will make an angle with the center of the circle. That angle is called radian. That angle is called 1 radian. So since this entire circle circumference C is equal to 2 pi r, if you want to represent this circle circumference in terms of the radians, you must divide this 2 pi r with r, arc length, this r. Then you will get 2 pi. That means entire circle will be having the radians of 2 pi. The circle will have 2 pi radians. Any circle, if you take any circle, that circle will be having 2 pi radians. So this radians are plane angle we use when we deal the things in two dimension. So similarly, when we do the things in 3 dimension, we will use the angle that is called solid angle, that is also called steradian. In order to understand this steradian, here you take a sphere. The radius of this sphere is r. On the surface of this sphere, you consider another sphere. This sphere surface area is equal to r square. Once again I repeat, in order to understand this steradian or solid angle, you take a sphere. So on this sphere, radius is r. On this surface of the sphere, you consider one more small sphere. That surface area is equal to r square. That small sphere of surface area r square will make an angle with the center of the sphere. That angle is called 1 steradian. So we already know the surface area of the sphere A is equal to 4 pi r square. In order to represent the complete sphere in terms of the steradian, we must divide 4 pi r square with r square. That is the area of 1 steradian unit. So then you will get A is equal to 4 pi steradians. That means a complete sphere, if you take any sphere, that sphere will be having 4 pi steradians. So this steradian is used when we deal the things in 3 dimension. It is a solid angle, basically solid angle. Okay, I think it is clear. The relation between the radian and steradian is, the unit for the steradian is r square. R square unit are radian square, radian square, and units for this is, this angle is radians, radians. Okay, so I think it is clear what is meant by radian and steradian. Next we covered the spherical coordinate system. So spherical coordinate system is the important coordinate system. I think you might have studied the three coordinate systems in electromagnetic theory. So in antennas and wave propagation, in order to represent the field variations, antennas radiated electric and magnetic fields variation, we use spherical coordinate system. This is the most convenient coordinate system to deal with the antennas and wave propagation. So in spherical coordinate system, you will be having any any point in the space we represent by using three parameters. One is the radial distance r, and second one is the theta. Theta is nothing but elevation angle, and third one is the pi. Pi is nothing but azimuth angle. Okay, so in order to represent any point in the space, in case of spherical coordinate system, we use three parameters. Those are r, theta, phi. Okay, r is the distance, theta is the elevation angle, and phi is azimuth angle. Okay, so one important thing you must remember regarding the spherical coordinate system is, so you consider a sphere, consider a sphere. On this surface of the sphere, you take a small patch or elemental area, a small area. So here you can see the dark one. This is the small patch, and this small patch, one side length is r sin theta d phi, and another side length is r into d theta. The area of this small patch in case of spherical coordinate system, we can represent as dA is equal to r sin theta d phi into r d theta. Okay, that is equal to r square sin theta d phi. So in order to represent this small area in terms of the steradians or in terms of the solid angles, then we must divide. Please someone mute yourself. Okay, ma. Here we are considering a small area on the surface of the sphere. That's the area of that small patch is equal to r square sin theta d phi. So in order to represent this small area in terms of the steradians, we must divide this with r square, small r square. Then you will get d omega. This omega is also called beam angle. Beam angle. D omega is equal to sin theta, d theta, and d phi. This is very important point you must remember, because while doing the integrations, the surface integrations, then we use the dA or ds. Then dA in spherical coordinate systems is equal to r square sin theta d phi. Okay, so here I already told the theta is the elevation angle and phi is the azimuth angle. Theta varies from 0 to pi and phi varies from 0 to 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. Okay, after that we covered isotropic antenna and directional antenna. So isotropic antenna is nothing but the antenna which radiates uniformly in all directions, and directional antenna is nothing but the antenna which radiates effectively in one direction and almost zero radiation in other directions. Okay, So those are the things what we covered in the last class. Coming to the next class or today's class. So today, whatever we covered in the previous class, these are the fundamental things required in order to understand the antenna parameters. Okay. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the antenna parameters. Uh, in order to represent or in order to measure the performance of the various performance of the any practical antenna, we need various parameters. These are the various parameters. For suppose you designed an antenna or any wire antenna, you want to measure the performance of that particular antenna, then you need these parameters to measure that particular antenna, right? So antenna parameters are nothing but the parameters which are required to measure or to analyze the performance of any antenna. So these are the important parameters of the antenna. First one is the radiation pattern, second one is the radiation power density, third one is the radiation intensity, next beam efficiency, directivity, gain, beam area, polarization, antenna input impedance, antenna temperature. So these are the various antenna parameters. We'll see one by one. So in this first class, we'll take the first parameter, that is radiation pattern. So radiation pattern. What is meant by radiation pattern? So an antenna radiation pattern or the antenna pattern is defined as a mathematical function or graphical representation of radiation properties of the antenna as a function of space coordinates is called radiation pattern. So in simple way, the radiation pattern is nothing but a mathematical equation or a graph. Radiation pattern is nothing but a mathematical equation or a graph that shows or that gives the information about the radiation properties of the antenna as a function of space coordinates. Once again I repeat, the radiation pattern is nothing but a graph or a mathematical equation that gives the information about the radiation properties of the antenna as a function of space coordinates. The space coordinates means theta, comma phi, elevation and azimuth angles. The radiation properties. What are the radiation properties? These radiation properties includes power flux density, radiation intensity, field strength and polarization. Any parameter that is any equation that is function of space coordinates. Either it may be power density equation or radiation intensity equation or field strength equation and polarization equation. That is function of theta comma y, theta comma pi. That equation is called radiation pattern. The graphical representation of that equation also we can call the radiation pattern. Okay, so generally this radiation pattern, it may be a two-dimensional or three-dimensional spatial distribution of the radiated energy as a function of observer's position along a along a path or surface of the constant radius. Okay, it may be that graph may be two-dimensional or three-dimensional. So that gives the spatial distribution of the radiated energy as a function of observer's position along a path or surface of the constant radius. Okay, once again I repeat the definition of radiation pattern, because it is very important. Radiation pattern is nothing but a mathematical function or graphical representation of the radiation properties of the antenna as a function of space coordinates. Space coordinates means elevation and azimuth angles. Radiation properties are radiation flux density, radiation intensity, field strength and polarization. In simple words, we can tell the radiation pattern as a mathematical equation or a graph that gives the information about radiation properties of the antenna as a function of theta comma phi is called radiation pattern. Either it may be graph or mathematical equation that gives the radiation properties information as a function of theta comma phi. Okay. Next, this radiation pattern generally we measure in terms of the power or in terms of the field. So if we measure the power, if we measure the power along the constant radius is called power pattern. If we measure the field, either it may be electric field or magnetic field along the constant radius circle is called field pattern. So here you can better understand by seeing or by observing this figure. So listen carefully all of you. Take a dipole antenna, this one is the dipole antenna, and give a feeding a time varying current or voltage to this dipole antenna. Then what happens? This dipole antenna, red one, radiates the electric and magnetic fields into the free space, right? So into the space. Now you consider a circle. Here this is the circle. This circle radius is r. R is greater than or equal to 2d square by lambda. As we discussed in the previous class, any sort of measurement we take in far field region. The region beyond 2d square by lambda is called far field region. This radiation pattern we are measuring in far field region. Okay. So now this is the antenna. For this antenna we are giving the input time varying current or the time varying voltage. Because of that input it radiates the electric and magnetic fields. Now we are considering a circle and this circle radius is greater than 2d square by lambda, because that means this circle is in the far field region. Now by moving along this circle you take the measurements of power or electric field or magnetic field. Here you can see in the table serial number pi, in the third column power or field or h. That means if you want to draw or if you want to measure the radiation pattern of the antenna or field pattern of the antenna or power pattern of the antenna, you take the antenna, give the input, and then consider a circle or take a circle and consider a circle. That circle radius is greater than 2d square by lambda. That means consider a circle in far field region. Now by moving along this circle, for suppose this is the point where pi is equal to 0, that means azimuth angle is equal to 0. Next, at pi is equal to 0, you measure the power or electric field and write at this column. Next, move along this circle, measure the power or electric field or magnetic field at pi is equal to 90. Here pi is equal to 90 and write down that value in the third column. After that, move along this circle, measure the at phi is equal to 70. Here the pi is equal to 90. Here the pi is equal to 180, and measure the power or electric field or magnetic field, and write those values in the third column, and again move along the circle at pi is equal to 270, at phi is equal to 270, measure the power or electric field or magnetic field and write in the third column. So after that, if you draw a graph a graph that shows the relation between the or the variation of the power or electric field or magnetic field with respect to the phi, that graph is called radiation pattern. Okay, power pattern means power pattern means a trace of received power at a constant radius r is called power pattern. That means we are measuring the power along the circle. That circle radius is greater than 2d square by lambda. And then we are drawing the graph between the phi azimuth angle and received power. That graph is called power pattern. Similarly, if you measure the electric field along this circle of the constant radius, that gives field pattern. That gives the field pattern. Okay. After measuring this power or field, take the maximum value among the measured one and divide all the measurements with that. That process is called normalization. Then you will get the maximum value as a 1 and minimum value is 0. Then if you draw the graph between those normalized values versus pi, then we call it as a normalized field pattern or normalized power pattern. Here you can see in the equation. So E theta comma phi is the electric field measured along the circle by varying the pi. Similarly, P suffix theta indicates the power measured along the circle, along this circle. So if we divide this electric field or the power with its maximum value, you will get the normalized values. We are normalizing these values to the 1. Okay. So you'll get the normalized values. Then the graph between those normalized values with respect to the pi azimuth angle is called normalized power pattern or normalized field pattern. So once again I repeat, generally in case of the antennas we will measure the power pattern or field pattern. If we measure the power along a constant radius circle, then we call the power pattern, or a graph that gives the spatial variation of the electric field or magnetic field along a constant radius circle. That graph is called field pattern. The graph shows the variation of the power, then the graph is called power pattern. If the graph shows the variation of the field, then that graph is called field pattern. Okay, here you can see. So this is the two-dimensional normalized field pattern. Why we are calling it is a two-dimensional pattern? Because here we are having only two axes, two axes. One is theta, another one is the power. So why you are calling it as a normalized field? Because here you can see the maximum value of the field is 1. That means after getting the electric field values for different azimuth angles. After getting the values, we are dividing all the values with the maximum value among the electric fields. Then we will get the normalized values. The graph that shows the variation of the normalized electric field with respect to the azimuth angle is called two-dimensional normalized field pattern. Here you can see this is two-dimensional plot because here we are having only two axes. One is the angle phi, another one is the power. We are calling it as a normalized field because its maximum value is 1. So after getting the field values, we are dividing all the electric field values or magnetic field values with the maximum value among them. So then that process is called normalization. We are normalizing. So we'll get the maximum value as a 1. So similarly, here in the second figure, you can see the two-dimensional normalized power. Here we are using the field, here we are measuring the power. So we are calling it as a two-dimensional because it is varying with the phi and the power is varying only pi. That means on one axis we are having pi, on another axis we are having the power. This is also normalized. So why we are calling it as normalized means we are after getting the power values for different pi, we are dividing all the power values with the maximum value among them. That process is called normalization. So because of this normalization process, the maximum value of the received power is 1. So the graph that shows the variation of the normalized power values with respect to the phi is called two-dimensional normalized power pattern on linear scale. On linear scale means whatever the normalized powers we are getting, just we are using to draw this graph. If you see the third figure, two-dimensional normalized power pattern in dB scale. That means, so after getting the power, normalized power, we are measuring that power in dBs. In dBs means 10 log of that normalized power. Then you will get the maximum value as 0 dB. So log 1 is equal to 0. For if the value is less than 1, then you will get the minus. So that all remaining powers in dBs you will get minus 3 dB, minus 4 dB, minus 10 dB like that. Okay. Third graph, the difference between the second graph and third graph is the second graph is the normalized power pattern in linear scale. That means after doing the normalization process, we simply draw the power values variation with respect to the pi. So whereas in third graph we are drawing the power values in dBs. Means after doing the normalization process, we are calculating that power in terms of the dBs. That means 10 log of that normalized value. So that's why log 1 is equal to 0. So the maximum value in the case of normalized power pattern in dB scale, you will get as a 0 dB. 0 dB. Okay. So next is the principal patterns. So these principal patterns generally we use in case of the linearly polarized antennas. So there are two principal patterns. One is the principal E-plane pattern and second one is the principal H-plane pattern. The principal E-plane pattern means the plane that containing electric field vector and the direction of maximum radiation. For suppose you take an horn antenna, this one is the horn antenna. This antenna radiation pattern is like this. Here this vertical line indicates the electric field and this horizontal line, this one indicates the magnetic field. So principal E-plane pattern means the plane containing this electric field vector and direction of maximum radiation. This is the direction of maximum radiation, and if there is only electric field vector, then we call it as a principal E-plane pattern. So likewise, if there is only the magnetic field vector, this horizontal line, and in the direction of maximum radiation, then we call it as a principal H-plane pattern. So here you can see the direction of magnetic fields and electric fields. This vertical, the electric field is extended vertically along this open space of the horn antenna. So these are the electric field lines, vertical lines, and the magnetic field lines are horizontal lines. Here you can see the magnetic field, here the electric fields. If there is only the magnetic field in the direction of maximum radiation, then we call it as a principal H-plane pattern. If there is only electric field in the direction of maximum radiation, then we call it as a principal E-plane pattern. Okay, so these terms, these principal patterns we use only in case of linearly polarized antennas. Linearly polarized antennas. Next, in order to define some terms related to the antenna radiation pattern, let us consider antenna polar pattern. So I am calling this graph as a polar pattern. Why I am calling it as a polar pattern means, here you can see this graph is a three-dimensional graph or three-dimensional plot, but the axes are only x, y, z. X, y, z. So that is the reason I am calling polar pattern, polar x, y, z, polar coordinate system. So three-dimensional polar pattern. So in the next graph is called antenna linear pattern. Why I am calling it as a linear pattern means, so here this graph is giving the information about the radiation intensity on linear scale. On linear scale, just now we have seen the difference between the linear scale and dB scale. Here you can see the linear scale means whatever the power values or normalized power values we get, those power values will be used to draw the graphs in case of linear scale. So in case of dB scale, we use the dB values of the powers. Okay, so this is the linear pattern. That means we use just the measured power values to draw this graph. So now the important parameters are, the first one is the loop, L-O-B-E, loop. What is meant by loop? L-O-B-E, loop. Loop is nothing but various parts of the radiation pattern. Various parts of the radiation pattern is called loop. Here you can see in the first figure, these are the various parts of the radiation pattern. These are all called loops. Generally, any loop is bounded with the zero radiation. So once again I tell, various parts of the radiation pattern are called loops. Generally, any loop. So here you can see this one I am calling it as a loop. This one I am calling as a loop. This one is also loop. This one is also loop. This one is also loop. These are all loops. These are all various parts of the radiation pattern. So generally what happens, all these loops are bounded or confined within the zero radiation. That means, see here you can see, here there is no radiation. That means here also there is no radiation. That means this loop is bounded with zero radiations. This side is also no, there is no radiation, and this side is also no radiation. Okay, this one is called a loop. Similarly, you take this loop. For this loop, at the right side there is no radiation, and left side is also there is no radiation. Similarly, you take this one. Here there is no radiation. This side is also there is no radiation. What I mean to say is various parts of the radiation pattern are called loops, but all these loops are bounded or confined in between the zero radiation. This zero radiation is called null, N-U-L-L, null. This zero radiation part in the radiation pattern is called null. That means any loop in the radiation pattern will be bounded or confined within the loops. Okay. So now I think you understand the meaning of the loop. Loop is nothing but various parts of the radiation pattern. So again, the loops are divided into different types. The first one is the major loop. Major loop. Major loop means major loop or main loop. The main loop means the loop which is in the direction of maximum radiation. From this figure, you can say the loop that is along the z axis. The loop that is along the z axis is the major loop because it is in the direction of maximum radiation. On z axis, this loop is having the maximum value along the z axis, right? That's why we call this loop as a major loop. Major loop is nothing but the loop which is in the direction of maximum radiation. From this figure, we can tell the loop that is along the z axis is the major.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello? Hello? Sheikh Shawali?
Yes, sir. Vinod is
Yes,
Sir
sir.
audible.
Teja? వినపడడం లేదా?
Sir, it's audible, sir.
Vinod
వినపడలేదా?
Yes, sir.
లేదు సార్ మ్యూట్ అయింది సార్ మీది.
ఎంతసేపు అయిందమ్మా
మ్యూట్ అయింది.
ఎంత టైం అయింది?
2 minutes.
ఒక 2 minutes సార్.
2 minutes.
ఈ గ్రాఫ్ స్టార్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఉండిందా మీకు ఈ స్లైడ్ స్టార్ట్
Just a
చేసినప్పుడు
maximum radiation.
లూప్
మేజర్ లూప్ గురించి చెప్తున్నాను సార్.
మేజర్ లూప్ చెప్తున్నారు సార్.
అవునా? ఓకే ఓకే, సారీ, నేను అబ్జర్వ్ చేయలేదు. మేజర్ లూప్ మీన్స్ ద లూప్ విచ్ ఈస్ ఇన్ ద డైరెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ maximum radiation is called major loop or main loop. So in this figure, the major loop is the loop which is along the z axis. Okay. So next term is minor loops. Minor loops is nothing but Loops in the radiation pattern other than the major loop are called minor loops, or loops in the radiation pattern except major loop or main loop are called minor loops. Means other than major loop or loops combinedly we can call them as a minor loops. So in minor loops, further there are two types. One is the side loop, another one is the back loop. Side loop is nothing but the loop which is adjacent to the major loop in the direction of maximum radiation. The side loop is nothing but the loop, here you can see side loop, the loop which is adjacent to the major loop or main loop in the direction of maximum radiation or in the plane of maximum radiation is called side loop. Next one is the back loop. Back loop means the loop which is in the direction, in the opposite direction to the major loop. That means the loop which is in the 180 degrees opposite to the direction of major loop is called back loop. Here you can see this one is the back loop. Okay, so once again I repeat, loops are nothing but various parts of the radiation pattern. Generally these loops are confined within the zero radiation. The zero radiation in the radiation pattern is called null. Here you can see this one is the loop. So this loop is confined or bounded in between the nulls. That means there is no radiation. So this side is also there is no radiation, and this side is also there is no radiation. Okay, this no radiation part in the radiation pattern is called null. Okay, so these loops are classified into broadly two types. One is the major loop and second one is the minor loop. The major loop is nothing but loop which is in the direction of maximum radiation is called major loop or minor loop. So in this figure, the loop, this one is the loop which is along the z-axis is the major loop. So next, minor loops. Minor loops are nothing but the loops in the radiation pattern except the major loop. The remaining all loops are called minor loops. All these minor loops are undesired things because this is the desired one, major loop, and remaining all minor loops are undesired things. Because of these minor loops, the energy gets wasted, unnecessary radiation. Minor loops are all meant for unnecessary radiation or undesired radiation. Okay, these minor loops are further classified into two types. One is the side loop, another one is the back loop. Side loop is nothing but the loop which is adjacent to the main loop in the direction of the maximum radiation or in the plane of maximum radiation. The next, back loop is nothing but the loop which is in the opposite direction to the major loop, or 180 degrees, it is 180 degrees opposite direction to the major loop. Here you can see this one is the back loop. Okay, next important terms you must remember are half power beam width and beam width between the first nulls. Half power beam width. So observe clearly, this is the major loop and this is the one what we desired. So the desired radiation will takes place only in this direction. Okay, so this is the maximum radiation value. Here on z-axis, this point indicates the maximum radiation value. The half power point, if this pattern is the power pattern, that means if this graph indicates the power distribution in the space, this is the maximum power value. Hello.
Sir, there is a sort of disturbance, sir.
Lot of disturbance. I think here.
No, sir, some kind of sound is.
Yes, ma. That is due to the UPS. There's no the power gone.
Yes,
That is due to UPS. Okay, ma. Now I am trying to define the half power beam width and beam width between the first nulls. Here you can see this one is the major loop. This major loop is the, in major loop only the desired radiation will takes place. Okay. So this is the maximum value. If this pattern is the power pattern, this is the maximum power value here on Z axis. This is the maximum value. So now take the half power point direction. If it is the one, if this value is the one, take the half power point. That means half power point means if it is a power pattern, half power point means 0.5 along the 0.5 value along the Z axis. Here you will get the half power. So for this point at the left side and right side, indicate the half power points and then draw a line from the origin. Draw a line from the origin along this half power point. So this line indicates half power direction. Similarly, draw a line from the origin along the half power point in the left side that indicates the half power direction. The angle between these two half power points directions is called half power beam width. The angle between in the direction of maximum radiation, the angle between two half power points direction is nothing but half power beam width. Okay. So whereas in the case of field pattern, half power means if the power is half, the field will become, we know the relation between the power and electric and magnetic fields. The power P is proportional to the electric field square, right? At P is equal to 1 by 2 into P. That means at half power, what will be the electric field value? We know the relation between the P and electric field, power and electric field. The P is proportional to the, or P is equal to E square, approximately E square. So at P is equal to P by 2. That means half power. At half power, P is equal to P by 2. What will be the electric field value? The electric field value is equal to P under electric field value will become the 1 by root 2 times P is equal to, what will be the electric field value at a half power point? E is equal to 1 by root 2 into 1 by root 2 times of its maximum value. So you might have studied in the circuits, electronic circuits, amplifiers. So while designing the bandwidth of an amplifier, generally we take the 3 dB points. 3 dB points means 1 by root 2 times of its maximum value. So just like that, here also, so when we deal with the field patterns, the half power indicates 1 by root 2 times of the maximum value of electric field. Okay. So the angle between the directions of two half power points is called half power beam width. The next term is beam width between the first nulls, or beam width between the first nulls. The angle between the directions of two first nulls is called beam width between the first nulls. Here you can see this is the major loop. The first null means null means zero radiation. Here in this direction there is no radiation. This direction is also there is no radiation. The angle between these two directions is called beam width between the first nulls. So the beam width between the first nulls is equal to, it is approximately equal to 2 times of the half power beam width. So in the second graph you can clearly understand because it is the two-dimensional graph. So here you can see half power beam width means the angle between half powers. Here this graph shows a linear pattern, two-dimensional linear pattern. On x-axis we are having a theta, and y-axis we are having the radiation intensity. So this is the maximum value of radiation intensity. This is the maximum value. For suppose say it is a 1, half power means the radiation intensity value at which the radiation intensity value is 0.5. This is the point where the radiation intensity is 1/2. Draw a line. Similarly, at the left side indicates the half power point. Draw a line. The angle between these two is called half power point, half power beam width. Similarly, beam width between the first nulls means this is the major loop. Null indicates zero radiation. Here this one is called null. Again here we get the another null. This one is the third null, fourth null. Null indicates zero radiation. So this is a null at the right side. This is the null. This is also null. This is also null. The angle between beam width between these two first nulls is called beam width between the first nulls, or F and BW. So the relation between the half power beam width and beam width between the first nulls is approximately the beam width between the first nulls is equal to 2 times of the half power beam width. Okay, so these are the definitions what I explained. Various parts of the radiation pattern are referred to as the lobes, which may be subclassified into the major lobe or main lobe and minor lobes. Major lobes and minor lobes. The major lobe is the lobe which is in the direction of maximum radiation, and minor lobes is nothing but any lobe except the major lobe. So these minor lobes are further classified into two. One is the side lobe, another one is the back lobe. Side lobe is the lobe adjacent to the major lobe, and back lobe is the radiation lobe in the direction opposite to the direction of major lobe. Okay, I already told the null. What is meant by null? Null is nothing but the direction of zero radiation or no radiation in radiation pattern graph is called the null direction. Okay, I already explained half power beam width. Half power beam width is nothing but the angle between the two half power directions is called half power beam width. The angle between two half power directions in maximum radiation direction. So this is the maximum radiation direction. So in this direction, the angle between two half power points direction. This line is the half power point direction. This line is also half power point direction. Why I am calling it as a half power means, so this is the maximum power. If it is the 1, here the power value is 0.5. So 0.5, right side 0.5. Draw the line from the origin towards this 0.5 directions. The angle between these two is called beam width between the first nulls. Next, half power beam width. Beam width between the first nulls means the angle or the angle between the two first nulls directions. This is the first null and this one is the first null. The angle between these two first nulls is called beam width between the first null. Okay, beam width between the first nulls is equal to 2 times of the half power beam width. This is a relation between the half power beam width and beam width between the first nulls. So next, let us take a small activity. All of you read the question on the screen and post your answers in the chat box. All of you do it fast. A plane that containing the electric field vector and the direction of maximum radiation is referred to as dash. That means a plane that is containing only electric field in the direction of maximum radiation. Then we
Sir.
Hello?
Excuse me, sir. Excuse
Hello?
me, sir.
Please,
Sir,
please.
time up, sir. Sir,
Yes. 2 minutes.
Ramarao, sir.
2 minutes.
Next.
Okay, just 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, I will go. Please
Okay, sir.
post your answers in the chat box. The plane containing electric field vector in the direction of maximum radiation is referred as dash. The answer is, since the radiation pattern containing only electric field in the direction of maximum radiation, we call it as a E-plane pattern. E-plane pattern. Similarly, take the next question. The plane that containing the magnetic field vector in the direction of maximum radiation is referred to as. That means the radiation pattern is containing only the magnetic field in the direction of maximum radiation. Then that graph or that radiation pattern is called, your answer is H-plane pattern. Next question. A portion of radiation pattern bounded by regions of relatively weak radiation or zero radiation is referred to as dash. A portion of radiation bounded by region of relatively weak radiation or zero radiation or nulls is nothing but efficiency, loop or impedance. What is your answer? I already told you while defining the loop, generally the loops are nothing but various parts of the radiation pattern. These loops are bounded or confined within the zero radiation. That means weak radiation or null. So the answer is loop. So next question, the radiation loop containing the direction of maximum radiation is referred to as. The radiation loop containing the direction of maximum radiation is referred to as dash. Please post your answers in the chat box. I will go through your answers. So after completion of this class also, please post your answers for this question. The answer is, the loop which is in the direction of maximum radiation is called major loop.